Hey Bookaholics, so welcome back to another video. Today I'm bringing you a list of series that are going to be, or at least very likely are going to be, concluding in 2025. I am a binge reader. I like binge reading books. Don't come at me. I like binge reading books. So I wait until the whole series is out and then give it a hella binge read. And that is exactly why I am always on the prowl for when the last book is coming out in a series. So I thought I'd do a list of all of the series that I have been keeping an eye on that are going to hopefully be concluding in 2025. I have 4 categories, which are the ones that are definitely coming out, the ones that have a publication date, and therefore it would only be unusual circumstances in which that would be completely removed. It's possible it'd be postponed past the date that it says, but it's likely to still be in 2025. I also have the ones that are very likely to come out, ones that the author has consistently brought out a book each year, for example, or that are very reliable with their publications. It's just that we don't have a fixed date yet. I have the ones that could possibly come out, ones where the author isn't necessarily quite as reliable, or the publishing house, either or, isn't quite as reliable on the 1 a year situation, but it's entirely possible that they will come out. And then ones that are, it's unlikely that they will come out, but technically we are only missing 1 book for the series to conclude, so it could possibly come out. I'm going to start out with the definite. So of course we have The Winds of Winter. I'm only kidding, sorry. Continuing, I'm not going to be giving synopses, by the way, for any of these because there are too many on this list. So just information. The first one that I have here, I'm going to be trying to go by publication date. Now I have 3 that are January 1st on Goodreads. Now that is normally wrong. There are very few books that come out on January 1st. So it's entirely possible that these are coming out in 2025 and Goodreads has just decided to allocate it January 1st for some random reason. But since Goodreads is saying January 1st, we're just going to go through those 3. The first one that I have is The Thief of Night by Holly Black, which is the second and final book in the Book of Night duology. And the first book, The Book of Night, came out in 2022. So it has been a while, but hopefully it is concluding this year. The other one that I have is Sovereign by C.L. Clarke, the third and final book in the Magic of the Lost trilogy, which started with The Unbroken back in 2021. However, again, I don't know exact dates for this. I did think that this was going to be coming out last year. It didn't. It's coming out hopefully next year. And I am excited to get to it. This is one of the ones that I'm most excited for. So hopefully it is actually coming out. And the last one that I have on here is Red God by Pierce Brown, which is the final book in the second era, the new series of Red Rising books. The first of which, Iron Gold, came out in 2018. But if you consider the series as a whole, then the first book, Red Rising, came out back in 2014. I don't think that it will be coming out that soon because we did have Lightbringer, which I believe is the penultimate book, come out midway through, I think, last year. So it's entirely possible that it will be midway through this year that we will be getting this one. However, we'll see. But I do believe that it is supposed to be coming out in 2025. I just think the January 1st date is wrong. The only other one that I have down for January is supposedly coming out on January 28th. And that is The Teeth of Dawn by Mariana Lostetter. The first book, The Helm of Midnight, came out in 2021, and this third and final book will be concluding the 5 Penalties trilogy. For February, on February 11th, we are going to be concluding the Emily Wilde series, which started with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies back in 2023, and we have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales coming out in February so that we can finally binge this series. On March 4th, we have Emberclaw coming out, which is the conclusion to the Dragon Scales duology by L.R. Lamb, which started with Dragonfall back in 2023. On April 8th, we have the conclusion to the Library series by Mark Lawrence with The Book That Held Her Heart, the first book of which, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, came out in 2023. So again, lovely consistent author here, 1 a year. On April 1st, which I'm hoping it actually comes out on April 1st. If not, it's a very strange April Fool's joke. We have Faithbreaker, which is the last book in the Fallen Gods series by Hannah Kaner, the first of which, Godkiller, came out in 2023. On my birthday, May 6th, we have A Letter From the Lonesome Shore by Sylvie Cathrall, and this is the conclusion to the Sunken Archive series, the first of which, Letter to the Luminous Deep, came out in 2024. Also in May, halfway through the month, May 13th, we have The Sorrow of the Sea by Stephen Arion, which concludes The Nightingale and the Falcon, with the first book, The Judas Blossom, having come out in 2023. Stephen's an incredibly prolific and consistent author, so it's no surprise that this series is concluding within the 3-year period. And the last one for May, which is May 20th, we have The Dawn Throne by Tara Sim, which is the conclusion to the Dark Gods trilogy, the first of which, The City of Dusk, came out in 2022. I have absolutely nothing at all for June. However, in July, the first one I have down is for July 3rd, and that is Human Rights, the third book in the HMRC, or Her Majesty's Royal Coven series by Juno Dawson. The first book, Her Majesty's Royal Coven, came out in 2022. We have had a book a year because last year we did have the novella, which is Queen Bee. However, this is the actual official third book and therefore conclusion to this series. On July 8th, we have Red Tempest Brother by H.M. Long, the conclusion to the Winter Sea series, which started with Dark Water Daughter in 2023, and again, very consistent author with a release every year. We have two on July 15th, first one being The Jazad Crown, which is the sequel to The Jazad Heir and conclusion to the Scorched Throne duology by Sarah Hashem, and the first book, The Jazad Heir, came out in 2023. And the other one on July 15th is The Nightshade God, which is the conclusion to The Nightshade Crown by Hannah Witten, the first of which, The Foxglove King, came out in 2023. I have two August releases. The first is on August 5th, which is Ninshiba, which is the conclusion to the Sumerians series by Emily H. Wilson, the first of which, Inanna, came out in 2023. A couple of days later, on August 7th, we have The Curse of Gods by Kat Dramis, which is the conclusion to the Curse of Saints series, which started with The Curse of Saints back in 2023. And the last one that we have with an official release date is September 16th for The River and the Star, which is the conclusion to the Warring Gods duology by Gabriela Romero Lacruz, which started with The Sun and the Void back in 2023. As to ones that are likely concluding, ones that have had a release every year so far, so there would be no reason for the concluding book to be coming out any later than next year unless there is issues with the publisher or just time with printing or the author took longer to conclude the book. But for the sake of probability, the likely ones we have are The Phoenix Horde by Julia V and Ken Bebel, which started with The Ebony Gate back in 2023. The last book does have a title, which is Tiger Eye, but we do not have an official date for it yet. The next one that I have is the Forsaken series by R.J. Barker, which started with Gods of the Weirdwood back in 2023, and we did have a release in 2024, so it's a reasonable assumption that the third and final book will be releasing sometime in 2025, but we do not have a title or a date yet. The next one that I have is The Mirror Realms by Ariel Kaplan, which has been listed as a trilogy. We have two books out, the first of which was The Pomegranate Gate, which came out in 2023. So as you can see, once again, we have one a year release. They do tend to release towards the end of the year, so I am wondering if maybe we just don't have a date yet, but it is coming, but we don't have a title yet either. The next one that we have is The Tales of the Plains by David Ragg, the first of which, The Hunters, came out in 2023, and once again, we've had a release every year, but we don't have a title or a release date for the concluding novel. The next one that we have is The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon, which is a series that started with The Hurricane Wars in 2023. We did have the second book come out very late in 2024, so it's entirely possible that it will just be a later release than I have release dates for at the moment, but we don't have a title or a cover or anything yet either. The next one that I have is the Rages series by Kritika H. Rao, which again, we have two books out, one a year. The first book, The Surviving Sky, having come out in 2023, but we do not have release date or title or cover or anything yet. The next one that I have is the Kingdom series by Bethany Jacobs, which again has been listed as a trilogy. The first book, These Burning Stars, came out in 2023. We do have a title for the third and final book, which is This Brutal Moon, but we do not have a release date as of yet. And the final one that I have in the likely category is These Monstrous Gods series by Elizabeth May, which is set to be a duology that started with To Cage a God this year in 2024. So it's entirely likely that the sequel and concluding novel will be coming at some point in 2025. Entering into the realm of possibility, we have ones that haven't got a date, that don't have quite a consistent release schedule. Like I said in the previous one, all of the others have come out one book a year. These have had bigger gaps, but it is entirely possible that they will be coming out. The first one is the Shanghai Immortal series. We have Paris Celestial coming out in 2025. I'm just uncertain if that is the concluding novel or not. I don't know if this is going to be a duology or more. It's not really mentioned anywhere. A. Chow, the author, hasn't declared it a trilogy as far as I'm aware, so I don't know. I know that a book is coming out, I just don't know if it's the concluding novel or not. A similar situation that I have with the Thornwich series by Catherine J. Adams is that we do definitely have a book coming out next year, which is Tonight I Bleed. I just do not know if it is the concluding novel or if it's just a sequel and there are more to come. I have one more that is also I know a book is coming out, I just don't know if it's the concluding novel or not, is The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam, which is the latest installment in the Tanria series by Megan Bannon, which started with The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy back in 2022. I don't know if this is going to be the last book or not, because each of them are romantic-y standalones essentially, so they could kind of go on forever. There's no need for it to be a trilogy. I don't know, therefore, if more books are going to be coming out in this series. So it could be the last book, or it could just be another installment. I am hoping for the latter because I've been really enjoying these books, but it may be concluding a series, sort of. As to all of the other ones, the next one that I have is the Book of the Usurper series by Erin M. Evans. We had The Empire of Exiles come out in 2022, and it is a trilogy, so we haven't had quite that one book a year that you would normally have. So while the third book is due and there is only one more book left in this trilogy, I don't know if it's coming out next year. The same can be said with The Age of Uprising by R.S. Ford, because The Engines of Empire once again came out in 2022, so we've had a 2-year publication rate as opposed to a 1-a-year publication rate, so I don't know if that would persist, in which case it would push back the third book until 2026. I don't know exactly where we're at with it. We haven't got any dates or anything, so it's just a little bit less reliable. The Locked Tomb series is at this point becoming a joke. I think I have put this on series that are concluding for maybe 2 years now, because we were initially told it was going to be a trilogy, and then Nona the Ninth came out, which pushed back Alecto, which was supposedly the concluding novel, and then it kept saying that Alecto was going to come out in 2024, and then it didn't, so now it's potentially coming out in 2025. I don't know how reliable this information will be. The first book, Gideon the Ninth, came out all the way back in 2019. So for this quartet, this tetralogy, we've been taking our sweet time for it to actually come to fruition. So I do not know if Alecto is coming out. I would like it to, because I am desperate to read this series, but how realistic that is, a lot slimmer. Another one that, again, just due to it having a slightly inconsistent release schedule, we have the Talents series by J.M. Miro. The first book, Ordinary Monsters, came out in 2022, and then we did have a book come out in 2024, so I don't know if that means that the third and final book will be coming out in 2025, or if it will be, again, a 2-year as opposed to a 1-year release schedule. The War Arts series is a very strange one to me. So we had the first 2 books, which were The Art of Prophecy and The Art of Destiny, come out somewhat back to back. Art of Prophecy came out in 2022. Art of Destiny came out in 2023. We had no release in 2024. And then we also haven't had any news on the third and final book, with no release date, no title, nothing. I don't know exactly what has happened with this last book, but it's gone a bit AWOL. So it could be concluding this year, which would make sense, but since we've not had any news on it at all, I don't know. I can't guarantee it. Another one that, again, very, very inconsistent release schedule is The Nameless Republic by Suyi Davies Okumbawa. The first book, Son of the Storm, came out in 2021, and we've only had 2 releases so far. So while it is a trilogy, and it could be concluding this year because we are only missing that last book, we do not really have any kind of information on it, and you can't bank on, oh well, it's been a year, because again, inconsistent release schedule. The last one that I have within the realm of possibility is Empire Without End by Emery Robin. We have The Stars Undying, which came out in 2022, so again, inconsistent schedule. And I also don't know if this series is going to be a trilogy. I don't know if it's said anywhere that it is a trilogy, or if more installments after that third book would be coming out. We don't have a date for the third book, so it's all a bit up in the air. As to ones that are unlikely, just due to the fact that we haven't had any news on them for a prolonged period of time, for whatever reason that may be. Some of these even have titles, but they have had titles for over a year, and we still have no further information on the series. The first one is the Dark Star trilogy by Marlon James. The first book, Black Leopard Red Wolf, came out in 2019. They've had the title for the last book, White Wing Dark Star, for at least 2 years, but no news on whether the book is ever coming out. Similar situation with the Band series by Nicholas Eames. We have The Kings of the Wild, which came out all the way back in 2017, and we haven't had that third concluding novel just ever appear. We've had Outlaw Empire, the title for the book, for at least 3 years at this point, and we still have no news on its existence. One that I don't know how many books are coming out in this series is the Middle Game series, the Alchemical Journey series by Shauna Maguire. The first book, Middle Game, came out in 2019. We did get the third book come out last year. I just don't know if it's meant to be a trilogy. This series genuinely might even be concluded. I have no idea. I have no information. Is this series concluded? Did the end of the third book feel like a conclusion to you? If not, how many books do you think there were going to be? Like, I have no idea. This is one that is just completely up in the air for me. One that, again, very, very inconsistent release schedule is the Cities of Weft series by Alex Phoebe. The first book, Mordu, came out all the way back in 2019. We did get a release, I think, either the end of last year or the beginning of this year. I don't know anything else about when the third book is coming out. It is stated to be a trilogy, but we have no title, no date, no nothing. And again, there was like a 4-5 year gap in between book 1 and book 2. So can't bank on the last one just coming in swiftly. Another one that, again, apparently is supposed to be a trilogy, but I don't know for sure if that's the case, is the Alex Stern series by Leigh Bardugo, which, again, we have 2 books out. We have Ninth House, which came out in 2019, and then we did get Hellbent, but I don't know if it's meant to be a trilogy. If it is meant to be a trilogy, then we are due the third book. I don't know if it will ever come or what dates we're looking at, but we are due the third book. Another one that it is simply that I do not know if it's a duology or not. We have the Saints of Storm and Sorrow by Gabriella Buber. I know that the next book is supposedly coming out at some point. We do have a title, which is Daughters of Blood and Fury. I just don't know if it's the concluding novel or not, and we don't have a fixed date for the sequel either. So a lot up in the air there. Another one where we do have 2 books out. The second one released very, very recently, so I don't know exactly when the third one will be coming out, and even if so, if the third one is going to be the conclusion. But it's the Rag of Rita by Gaurav Mohanty, and the first book, Sons of Darkness, came out in 2022. As I said, the sequel came out towards the end of 2024, so I don't know if A, we would be getting the third book in 2025, and B, if that is actually the concluding novel. Another one that has just basically been an ongoing, will this series ever finish, is the Dark Water Legacy by Chris Wooding, which is supposed to be a trilogy. But the Ember Blade came out all the way back in 2018, and we've had 2 books sitting there waiting to be concluded for a really long time. We have no news on the third and final book. We have no news on dates, titles, covers, nothing. We don't even know if that's what he's writing at the moment. So no clue on whether that one will actually be concluding. But we are only due 1 more book, so it's worth putting on the list anyway. Another one that has a very long gap in between releases is the Masquerade series by Seth Dickinson, with the first book, The Traitor Baru Cormorant, came out all the way back in 2015. That's when my eldest child was born. And we haven't had a sequel in a while. It is supposed to be a tetralogy, apparently, but we shall see if that's the case, if the series gets prolonged. I don't know when the next book is coming out. We don't have a title, we don't have dates. So there's a lot of I have no clue here as well. And the last one, which again is one that I just don't know if it's going to be a duology or not. We do have a book definitely releasing in 2025. I just don't know if it's the concluding novel, is the Rising World series by Martha Wells. The first book, The Witch King, did come out towards the end of 2023. And we have had news of its sequel, The Queen Demon, coming out in 2025. So if that is the concluding novel, if this is only meant to be a duology, then the series is concluding next year. But if it's meant to be more than a duology, then it's definitely not concluding next year. That one's just one that's like a 50-50. But there you have it. Those are all of the series that are going to be released or might be being released or at some point may be released next year. We shall see. I will hopefully then maybe go back and look and see how right or wrong I was with all of these. But that is everything for now. So thank you so much for watching, and let me know which of these series you are most excited for the conclusion of next year. And that is all from me for today. Bye!